Hi there, this is Datila, and welcome to the TNAIW Go Power Rankings show. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Bert Macklin, no relation to Steve Macklin.
Although I wouldn't mind now, he's on a roll.
He is on a roll, so I would not mind being related to him at all.
No. He's finally getting the push that we thought he deserved a while ago. So good for Macklin.
And you know what? You guys have similar features, same black hair, kind of the same haircut. So,
Sure.
Yeah, I can totally see a little bit of a resemblance. Guys, do you guys think Bert could pass for Steve Macklin's relative?
Stop.
Okay. All right, guys. So, Bert, who do you think is going to be on the power rankings this week?
Well, being the fallout from Bound for Glory, I would expect to see Josh Alexander just because his big win should carry over, and I would fully be willing to say that him being the number one guy this week is a safe bet.
I expect to see Bully Ray on there because he did win the Call Your Shot. I also expect to see, forgive me for saying this, I know some people are fans of him, Mid Cardona.
I'm okay with you saying that. And I think once we get in the rankings, I'll explain more, but I'm okay with you saying that.
For those of you wondering why I'm calling him Mid Cardona, you can blame Moose, okay? Moose started calling him Mid Cardona when Moose was Impact World Champion. Okay, so he called him Mid Cardona for a reason.
Yeah, I don't think that name belongs anymore. But we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, definitely. So before we get into the power rankings, Bert, how do you join the power rankings committee?
Just message me on Twitter at Burt Macklin 11, either DM or message, like I said. If you watch Impact every week and can get out a quick top 10, that's all we're looking for. So message me at Burt Macklin 11, and we'll get you in the rankings.
Unless you're a Melvin. Bert does not like Melvins.
Exactly.
All right, well, with that being said, let's play the power rankings. Number 10, Steve Macklin. Number 9, Matt Cardona, the major players. Number 8, world champion Jordan Grace. Number 7, Killer Kelly. Number 6, the tag team champions, the Death Dolls. Number 5, CYS winner Bully Ray. Number 4, Spider Trey Miguel. Number 3, Vex and Giselle Shaw. Number 2, X Division champion Frankie Kazarian. Number 1, world champion Josh Alexander. Oh, wow. Okay. So, you know what? Since we were just talking about him, let's start off with number 10, Steve Macklin at number 10. And honestly, I'm so happy to see Steve Macklin back on the power rankings. I feel like it was well overdue. He's starting to get momentum again, you know. He might have lost and taken a pin during the Call Your Shot gauntlet, but one hell of a performance, if you ask me. He made it all the way to the final 2, entering at number 3. So, you know what? Definitely deserve to be on the power rankings.
I actually think he could be a little bit higher because I arguably think he had one of the best promos of the night. He brought up how he's beaten 4 previous world champions. I just think that's adding to the momentum that he's silently building, as when he gets his shot, it's going to make more and more sense why he got that shot, because he's quietly putting together a resume that's turning heads.
And I do agree. You know, that whole opening segment with Moose, Bobby Fish, Josh Alexander, Bully Ray, I think that was a great opening segment. Now the thing here is like Moose said, he was talking to former world champions, and Steve Macklin has yet to be world champion, but he will get there I honestly think he is going to be the one to dethrone Josh Alexander.
That's a great choice. If that happens, I don't think you would get a lot of argument or pushback for that, but yeah, that's a great choice.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I do. Number 2, Frankie Kazarian. And wow. First of all, I have to say it feels a little weird not seeing Speedball Mike Bailey on the power rankings. Feels weird. Still feels weird not seeing him on here. But
he was such a staple of the ranking. He was like a staple of the rankings the last few months. It does feel weird.
Yeah, he was. But let's talk about Frankie Kazarian invoking option C. Like he's at number 2 because he's X Division champion, and you always talk about how the titles always carry weight on these rankings. Well, now that he's invoked option C, I don't expect to see him at number 2. But I mean, what were your thoughts on Frankie Kazarian invoking option C? And do you see him being on the power rankings next week?
Well, first, I love option C. I think that I forget who said it. I forget where I saw someone say this, but I think I saw someone say that it devalues X Division, and I completely disagree, because I look at the X Division as not only like the second title in the company, men's title, but I look at it as just like the way that you would look at the Intercontinental title, especially in the 90s. I remember at a point when you looked at guys like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, the Intercontinental champion, you're like, those are future champions. And the X Division champion, when you look at that, look how many future world champions have held the X Division champion that went on to be world champions, whether it was option C or otherwise. So I love option C. But then the second point, I don't expect to see Frankie Kazarian on there because I don't see him beating Josh Alexander. So to that point, I don't know where this kind of came out of left field, him cashing in. So then it's just very weird for him to win it, for him to lose the belt. Then I don't see why he had Mike Bailey drop it. But that's a whole other conversation.
You forgot to mention that option C is the reason Eddie Edwards turned heel.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because remember, Eddie Edwards turned heel because Josh Alexander invoked option C.
Okay, see, I don't remember that, but thank you for reminding me. No, I don't remember that.
Bert, we would talk about Eddie Edwards' heel turn all the time, and you forgot?
I don't remember the option C part, but I remember Josh using option C, but I don't remember that's why Eddie turned heel because of that. So.
Well, technically it was because he didn't get the opportunity since Josh jumped in front of him, I guess you can say.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, anywho, that's a whole different conversation with Frankie Kazarian beating Speedball now that he's not X Division champion anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole different conversation. But so number 5, call your shot winner, Bully Ray. Do you think he deserves this number 5 spot, or do you think he should have been higher or lower?
Well, basically now we have 2 number 1 contenders now in the power rankings, Kazarian being higher. I don't know who's going to get their title shot first. I have no problem with Kazarian being higher just because Bully Ray is not active. Bully Ray might have the longer resume and impact, but Kazarian's is, it's not like he's no stranger. He's been in Impact just as long, maybe the same amount of time, so maybe not done as much, but so no, I have no problem with him being higher, especially since he's more of the active wrestler currently.
And not to mention, Bully Ray, I feel like he cut a really good promo. I really enjoyed his half of the promo. I really did. Now, to talk about number 1, Josh Alexander, he has 2 things to worry about. Frankie Kazarian, and he needs to worry about, can he trust Bully Ray? Can he trust Bully Ray?
Well, no. And that's what really makes me upset about this storyline, because they're immediately going with, can they trust the Bully Ray angle? And I don't think they're going to like swerve us and make him not turn heel. I just see Bully Ray turning, because what is Josh Alexander going to be the heel in this feud? Is this going to be just a straight up who's the better man? Yeah, someone has to be the heel. So I see Bully Ray turning eventually. Well, and depending on how long he's in the company, is it just a one-off? So who knows at this point?
No. Okay, so I want to talk about this next one. Number 3 and number 6. Now, you've always said, again, the champions hold a lot of power on the power rankings. Like, they're usually voted higher, right? But it's interesting that the Death Dolls, being the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, are at number 6, yet Vex and Giselle Shaw at a number 3. So could you also say that being victorious also has to do in the power rankings, because Giselle Shaw and Vex did beat the Death Dolls?
I think it was a combination of two things. One, yes, they won this week. They beat the champs, got pinned, non-title match, and it was a 6-woman tag match. That's one reason. But number 2, I think it's we're seeing maybe the addition of Giselle Shaw in Vex, which I think is a great decision. I think she fits perfectly well with this group. I think it makes total sense. And I think that is why they're higher than them, because I think as a group, it's not like I don't like the Death Doll. I think they are perfect on screen as well. But I think Vex is a great heel team. I think Giselle Shaw just adds more to that. So makes total sense to me why they're higher.
Honestly, like, I love the fact that Vex and Giselle Shaw are higher than the Death Dolls. I love Vex. A huge fan of Deonna Purrazzo. You know that.
Yeah.
And I like Giselle Shaw too. And Chelsea Green is okay too. Like you said, as a unit, they actually worked really well together. And I had the same feelings that you did. I think Giselle Shaw fit in perfectly with Vex. It's like she finally found her group,
Yes.
But I don't expect, as much as I like Vex, I don't expect them to see them at number 3 next week, just because they're not the Knockouts champions. So I do expect to see the Death Dolls a little higher next week over Vex, unless a rematch is like next week or something.
It just depends on where the booking goes. We never know at this point.
Exactly.
Things change.
Yeah, they do. And so it's definitely going to be interesting to see where Vex is next week and where the Death Dolls is next week. But you said we were going to talk about Mid Cardona. So Mid Cardona being at number 9. Do you think that's a right spot for him? I mean, he had a big win over Bhupinder Gunhar.
He just came back. Not only do I think that he, especially in Impact, I think we can shed the name Mid Cardona, because right when he came back, I don't know what clicked in my head, but if I was Impact, I would immediately try to lock him down, because I think he can be their next, I'm not saying he is Drew McIntyre at all. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's Drew Galloway. But he could be something similar for Impact. If Impact could build him the right way and make him a main event, I see him. He could be the total main event heel, especially with him and Chelsea Green. And then you add Brian. I think this is the major players. They need to start building that more into something bigger than it is now. They need to lock Matt Cardona down, I think, as soon as possible.
So let me ask you this, and this question can also be for the viewers watching, for our fans. Obviously, they're going to reunite the major players. They're going to reunite them here. Poor Bhupinder Gunhar is all alone against the major players. Who is going to be his tag team partner?
That's if they decide to keep going with that feud. I would put the major players, or if anything, you could have Brian Myers drop the digital media championship and then immediately put the major players in the tag team title picture. That's what I would do, because I don't really want to see them feud with Bhupinder as a tag team. I would rather see him. You can elevate him, have him beat Myers for the belt, and then put Myers and Cardona in the tag team title picture. It's a win-win for both scenarios.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You bring up a good point. So, is there any other numbers you want to talk about as we get ready to wrap things up, or do you think we've touched on a lot of the major ones?
No, I think we've touched on all the major ones, especially everything. Jordan being at number 8, I expect to see her higher, especially because I think that she's just at the same level as Josh in terms of the number 1 star in the company. So I expect to see her higher next week as well.
I think the reason why Jordan was at number 8 is she didn't have a match on Impact this week. You can't be number 3 and not have a match, even if she is champion. But
she is women's world champion, so that does carry a lot of weight.
It does. But next week is going to be so interesting, because you know who I expect to see next week? This is not a prediction. I guess you can call it a spoiler, channeling my inner Paul Heyman. I expect to see Heath and Rhino next week on the Power Rankings.
Yeah, that's another team. This tag team division is taking shape once again. And there you go, right? Heath and Rhino next week.
And I think we both know why. I think the cat's out of the bag now.
What was that?
I said I think the cat's out of the bag now.
Yeah. And let's not forget, we got a great promo from, and another person I think Impact needs to sign. We got a great little promo from Juice, hyping up his boys, Ace and Bay. So I think they have
Ace and Bay. I forgot they were going up against Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer. No, I hope they don't lose.
I don't think they lose. They can't.
No.
They can't book they cannot book, and we coined this term, the inevitable finessers. They can't be losing. They can't be losing anymore. They're too good. And Juice Robinson with them, we need more Bullet Club. I hope they don't lose against Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer.
No, oh my God. They have to be Bully and Tommy. Oh, I can't. And Chris Bay just re-signed with Impact.
Exactly. They're not. Does Tommy Dreamer really need to be winning? We don't need to. Let's calm down. We'll wait and see. We can just hope the Ace and Bay can pull it out.
I'm going to be optimistic here and say that they're going to win.
Yes.
All right. But is there anything else you want to say before we get ready to sign off?
What's the thing I always say? Watch Impact.
Watch Impact. But with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continuous support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever this video drops or whenever TNAIW releases a new video. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.